All right. Good evening and welcome to BVT at Home. I am Katelyn Machnica. I am the Associate Artistic Director at BVT, and we are so grateful that you have joined us in this weird and unprecedented and very strange times. Thank you so much for your support. The messages, the donations, the emails have all been really wonderful and heartwarming. Naples and the BVT community has always been amazing, and right now in these unprecedented times is no exception. Stay tuned. We've got a lot more awesome BVT at Home things. Tonight's presentation of The King's Legacy is but the first, and we have a lot more amazing and safe things coming your way, like a cabaret, play readings, kids programming, and much, much more. So please follow us on social medias and keep track of our website, bvtnaples.org, to keep on top of all the great things coming your way. So we miss all of you so very, very much. And we also miss each other very much. So when we got this idea to do the King's Legacy premiere online, we also thought, why not do a little bit of a pre-show talk? So I'm very pleased and honored that so many of our wonderful artisans have joined us. We have Michael Radi. He is the composer, playwright of The King's Legacy. He also was in the cast of The King's Legacy, and you probably recognize him from some of his work as a music director at BVT, like for So Happy Together, or from his work acting in things like Les Mis. Over here we have Chris Handley, longtime BVT actor and director. He directed The King's Legacy, and he is also the artistic director of the Alleyway Theater in Buffalo, New York, and that's where he's calling in from now. Michael is in Queens, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Right below us, we've got Christopher and Justin Swader. They are the set designers to the stars, and that beautiful set that they designed for King's Legacy is still standing on that stage right now, and they are checking in from Queens. Hi, Swaders.
No.
And right below me down here, we have actress, singer, model, comedian, Hannah Karpenko, and she is checking in from Brooklyn. You might recognize her, of course, from The King's Legacy, or from Little Shop of Horrors or Rent. We've got just such BVT royalty in the Zoom room right now. Thank you all so much for being here. So, Radi, Mr. Radi, tell us a little bit about the history of how we came to produce The King's Legacy on the BVT stage.
Well, I first worked at BVT in the summer of 2014, I believe, as an actor, and have been very lucky to have been able to work there for the past several summers. And I think it was during that summer that we did a show called 365, A Year in Review, which you were also in, Katelyn.
Yes.
And it was during that show that I offered for the first time, hi, I arrange things, and I also play music, and I also write music. Would this be any help? And y'all were like, yeah, let's hear some of it. So we ended up doing an arrangement of Summertime that I had put together. And then, because this show was all about the year, we had these little palette cleansers between our sections that were all songs about seasons. And I was like, hey, I have a song about seasons. It's from this little musical that I just wrote that went up for the second time in a workshop called The King's Legacy. You want to hear it? Karen was like, sure. And it got into the show. And it still exists in The King's Legacy now. It's a madrigal, a 3-part madrigal called The Sounds of Spring. And that was the first time that I think I was really known to you guys as a writer at all. And then after that, every time I've been back, I bring in something, whether it's arrangements or doing arrangements for something else, or for our cabarets. We always do a BVT cabaret in the summers, bringing in something from King's Legacy or something else that I wrote. And then, what year did you guys start the New Works Initiative?
We started that 7 years ago. So,
okay.
I can't math right now, but I believe, what is that, 2013? Round about there.
Great. Okay. So I wasn't sure if my year was the first or the second year. And so I think it was 2 years ago, I was like, hey, Karen, have you guys ever thought about doing a musical? And she was like, why, yes, we have. And I hear you have one. Should we talk about that? I was like, yeah, okay. So we did kind of a sharing of materials to see if there was interest, and then sitting down to see what the logistics would be like. And we're like, well, I think we're both interested and this seems feasible. So you guys, very luckily for me, signed on to make The King's Legacy the first musical in the New Works Initiative, and I signed on to help raise some extra funds because it's a big cast for you guys, and it's a period drama. So needed a little extra boost, and then I think over the course of about a year, we just spent that entire time me doing interviews with you guys and just advertising like crazy, working on the script with Chris and the score and trying to get everything settled as much as possible before auditions. And yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
Awesome. Chris, you are no stranger to New Works. Alleyway Theater does a lot of new works in the Buffalo area. What are some of the more challenging aspects and some of the more rewarding aspects to working on a new play like this?
I would say that the answer is the same, and it is I don't know, maybe right now I would say that it's the playwright is the most challenging and the most rewarding. When we first started talking about this, Michael and I sat down. I don't know if our first meeting in person about the show was at that Tim Hortons in Batavia. I think we like met over like the winter break. And sat down to talk about it, and Michael kept saying like, these are great ideas, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and then I took it home and looked at it, and I was like, that's awesome, and then what if we do this, and what if we do this, and I think like for me, what's so exciting about it is working on the development and seeing how things can like change to become more successful storytelling. I hate the word like good and bad storytelling, but successful I think is important. And talking about what is it that we're trying to say and what is it that we're trying to do here. And like that opening of the show has gone up. By that point, it had gone through so many different variations. And I know that now it's already gone through even more variations, and trying to figure out what exactly that moment is and what should it be is the exciting part for me, and the workshopping of it, and trying things, and being in the rehearsal room, and Hannah saying like, no, Chris, you're wrong. What if we do it this way instead? And then obviously you're right, and you know trusting the people who are in the room with you is great. Or when the Swaders are like, we want to do this, but we don't have enough money. And so what if we did this instead? And it works to successfully tell the story. So for me, I don't know. It's like Pollyanna, and I've been alone in quarantine for a long time. So it's nice to see everybody's face.
You're doing so great, Chris.
But it's about seeing all the visions come together, I think, and the collaborative process. And it's the most rewarding and the most challenging, absolutely.
Awesome. Justin and Christopher, so a lot of our audience, they might have never seen a blank stage at BVT. Usually when they walk in, there's already a bunch of stuff happening, and it's pretty shocking to people when they see that it's really just a blank black space. So tell us a little bit about the journey. How do we go from that blank space to this beautiful set that you're about to see in the video, and that is still on the BVT set stage right now? So how do we go from blank to awesome?
Well, first off, it's exciting to know that the set is still standing, and I feel for the two of us, I think, once we read the script and kind of had like an early conversation with Chris about the possibilities of the design, and we listened to Michael's music. I think for us it was just kind of figuring out like how do we tell this story, and and the two of us and Chris, we were all really interested in like a fluid open space with levels where like performers could perch, or they could climb, or they could watch the action and just kind of be present throughout. I think that was all exciting to us. And I think within the script, there's so many like big entrances and processions, and so we wanted to, I guess, find a place that could unite all of these different locations. And we were also kind of inspired by those Elizabethan kind of open air inn yards where all these temporary stages would be set up and then taken down and kind of move from place to place. Yeah, we just wanted to feel like open and airy, and just let it transform with lighting, so that we could use some like minimal props and just kind of like the basic pieces that we really would need to tell the story, and then it could just kind of become all these different locations that we travel to, like like a tavern and a private chamber and a hallway and the King's Court. I think Chris and us were all really excited by the space just kind of feeling like a big playground that we could all that could just become a bunch of different places. And
I can attest to that because I've taught acting classes for children on that set, and they very much think it's a playground. They love being on that set. Have to keep them off the second level. But.
and then I think for us, it was also just trying to find a way to, be inspired by the architecture that's at Bristol Valley already, with all the beams and kind of like honor that within the design. Yeah, we thought we would just embrace those beams. So I think the whole set was kind of painted to match, or somewhat feel inspired by like those wooden beams that are kind of looming above the space. And we just thought, let's just expose those and embrace them. But I feel like all those pieces kind of, we united together to kind of create the framework for the set. But yeah, we had a really fun time working on this piece.
Awesome. Hannah, I know, I've just known you personally for a while, so I knew when this came up that you were very excited about it. So tell us a little bit what drew you to this project and what made you so excited about it.
Well, first of all, I'm always excited about coming back to BVT because I mean it's kind of my artistic home that's not terribly far from home, so my mother is still thrilled. And I mean I've my first job there was when I was in college, and now I'm decidedly not in college anymore. But I just thought it was kind of, the more I learned about first of all, I've seen the script and heard some of the music before by doing some readings and stuff with Michael, and so I was excited about the material to begin with. But then as I started to sort of hear who was going to be behind it creatively, it was like, oh wow, absolutely, how can I get in this room and work on this? And it takes a special group of people to kind of be able to put a show that is this daunting, and it is in all of the most amazing ways, but something this daunting up in like a week. And like, I don't think we could have done it without Chris and Annabelle and we couldn't have done it without the people that were involved. And so I was just so excited to work on this. Also, I'm a huge, massive history nerd always. So anything that I can kind of like sink my teeth into that's about stuff like that is always something I'm going to want to be signed up for.
Awesome. Michael, I'm going to jump back at you. Tell us a little bit about, obviously, the King's Legacy didn't just pop up overnight. It took many, many years of work, many
An overnight
rewrites.
Success.
So obviously you've been lucky enough, you're very surrounded by very talented people who want to help you out. So I was lucky enough to see a couple of these earlier readings of The King's Legacy before it became the show that you're going to see in a few minutes. So you've heard your songs before, but tell me a little bit about what did it feel like to not only be in a show that you wrote, but to be in full period costumes and the whole thing in a place that, everybody loves you and supports you. What was that like?
Scary and yet a dream come true. I think scary first and foremost because it is a group of people that I know and love and trust, and to take something like your writing, which is so much a part of you and especially this piece that I'd been working on for 6 years at that point, and just be like, here you go. Do with it what you will. And be in the room for it was absolutely terrifying and wonderful and delightful, and getting to see how everyone reacted to the material in the room and what the thought processes were and how people were thinking, well, what if we did this? And does this really mean this, or could this actually mean this? And going through the process of figuring out what this version of The King's Legacy was going to be, it was awesome. I think part of my favorite part of the experience was watching Chris work, because I really enjoy working with Chris as a director anyway, but watching
He's
his
fun
brain
to watch direct. It's really fun.
and watching his brain turn on the material as he comes up with the right questions to ask. And he's very good at like taking everything you thought you knew about a character in a scene and asking the right question to make you go, huh, maybe not. And I mean that both as an actor and as a writer. So that was really awesome. But again, scary. So it was a little bit like wearing my heart on my sleeve for 2 weeks before the thing actually went up into performance. But then it was just a blast. Like, to be on that absolutely gorgeous set. Like, I love that set so much, I cannot even tell you. And getting to just like melt into it when you're not on stage is one of the coolest things that I think I've ever done as an actor. And to be able to like pop out here and suddenly there's a light on you and you're in a different location, that was really exciting. And to do it all in period costume and to play with such a fantastic cast, like, we just had a ball up there.
Absolutely. Chris, what excited you the most about the finished project? Once you saw opening night of The King's Legacy, what excited you the most about it?
That it was done.
Yeah, the fact that I didn't screw up too bad, maybe. That we didn't. I think it's like that moment where you, like, this is what Michael means about watching my brain turn. And I'm so aware of it now because you're watching my brain turn as I try to figure this out. I think that the thing that was great about it was seeing the pictures that you have in your head from reading the words that Michael put on the page, and I create and I read them at home, and I'm by myself and I see a picture in my head, and then to see it actually look like what my imagination was is pretty amazing. There's a moment at, I don't know, can I give away the end of the play? It's history, but
yeah, I think
there's a moment at the end of the play.
Spoiler alert.
It was, I had this sort of picture in my head, and we talked with Mary Ellen, who's the lighting designer, and I talked about it a lot, and Justin and Christopher and I talked about it a lot, and how is this going to happen? And to sort of see that moment, if you haven't seen it, you'll see it in a little bit. To see that moment happen and the way that it looked, and the song that happens at that time sort of all come together. And just, I guess that's what it is. It's that translation of the image in your head to what's actually appearing on stage is pretty wild and sort of mind-blowing. And like, it's like a mysterious game that happens. And how, how did this happen?
How did we get here?
How did we get here? Because of a lot of really smart, talented people who, taught me a lot. I have to, can I just shout out? I never ever use the word shout out. Can I shout out Liz Porter Woods and Kate Reynolds, without whom we would have been lost. Assistant director and dramaturg who know everything about this time period and taught me so much. And I have to say thank you.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you. Thank you thank you to everyone. This was a huge new work. Usually new works, we usually do plays, and so doing a musical, it takes so much more effort to do a musical in general. So again, we just can't thank everyone enough. So Justin and Christopher, a lot of people know the kind of acting side of the schedule of BVT. They usually hear a talk back about how we get there on a Friday, rehearsal starts Saturday, next Saturday you run the thing, then the show's up. But what does that look like? What is that very tight schedule? What does that look like from your perspective in the technical end?
Well, I think it's just as quick and abbreviated, and I think like the only good thing is which I think we had the luxury of talking with the directors pretty early on. I feel like usually in the springtime is when Chris and us, like, I guess for this King's Legacy, like it was. Yeah, I think it was either in maybe early March, maybe like late February when we started talking about the design, and then we, like, once we submitted drawings, I think we submitted drawings at the end of March or mid-April, I think. So there was enough lead time, I think, by that point where the technical director that received the drawings was able to kind of take a look at everything, and we were able to at least have some back and forth, fairly early on, where we could talk about what was possible and what still needed to be finessed a bit. But I think once we arrived, which I guess when did we arrive? I guess the very first day of right before rehearsals began. So, and it's so fun. I think what we love about BVT is, like, when we, like, there was nothing when the day we arrived, nothing had been built. The set for the current show was still there. The show was still running. And yet within like a week of that, the set was like fully built, fully painted, and then just ready to be installed. And then it went up in a day, and it's so impressive. I think it speaks to, like, the talented people that BVT brings in, that within a night and a little bit of the next day, like, suddenly the entire set was up, it was painted, it was installed and ready to go and be inhabited by all of the wonderful people.
Yeah, I think, and then we go into tech, which is like its whole other thing, and we find little things that need to be fixed and stuff. I think something that I like to point out, just because I love it so very much, is we would have like a 12-hour rehearsal, a tech rehearsal, where the actors are on stage, they're in costume, there's, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. And then they get their notes, we have our tech meeting, everyone goes home. And then you guys stayed and painted the floor.
Oh, yeah.
The floor, I love the painted floor so much. It's like a cobblestone. It's beautiful. And all that, that type of painting sometimes takes place at like 2 a.m. on a Wednesday.
I feel like that's when, like, that, I feel like that, and I have fun memories of us painting that floor, and like Mary Ellen, the lighting designer, she was still in there working, and I think some of the other people were in there working, and it was just like, I don't know, I feel like those are like the memories that we look back on that from BVT, and like especially that show where I feel like everyone kind of coming together, especially in those final hours to kind of make it all happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's a race against time.
Yeah.
So Hannah, as a self-professed historical nerd, what was it like playing such a well-known historical figure?
Well,
and a well-known redhead at that.
Indeed. Well, it's one of those things where, kind of every girl, most girls grow up and they're like, yeah, I want to be a queen. Like, I think I wanted to be like Queen Amidala from Star Wars for a really long time in there. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, right. So it's like, it's kind of wild to be able to have the opportunity to actually do that. And it's one of those things where a lot of historical figures, especially the further back into history you get, you start losing actual details about who they were as people. That it's really wonderful to work on something that allows you to kind of fill in those blanks and to kind of bring those lofty people down to a human level for the audience and for the other performers. And it's cool to kind of distill, you know, Elizabeth specifically, her journey of, you know, being a child who lost her mother and meeting all of these other amazing, powerful, intelligent women that Michael has so wonderfully wrote, and how those influence her. And I think that's a very human experience, and that's a thing that a lot of people can relate to. And so I think that it's kind of amazing. And as it's been said before, like Liz and Kate and all of the historical research, I could have listened to Liz talk about all of the stuff she discovered about Elizabeth and about Anne and about all of the other, I could have listened to that forever. So I don't know, it was really cool to kind of get inside the mind and the body of somebody so cool.
Awesome.
Can I say what Hannah does really well is that she really does get into like the mind of the character, and to watch Hannah work. And like there's a scene at the end where Hannah's reading a letter, and it's like you in rehearsal, because in the watching the show I was too far away so I couldn't see her eyeballs, but in rehearsal just to watch her understand every moment and realize what that character is going through is really clear and done so well, and Hannah's great at it. I just want to say that.
While I was putting together this cut of the video that you're going to see, it was a wide shot and also a night where we did close-ups. And I kept texting Hannah as I was putting it together and being like, this moment is so good, this close-up, what your face does is so amazing, and putting it in.
I can attest to receiving those text messages, yes.
Good. I cannot wait. I am so excited. I haven't watched all of The King's Legacy since last summer, and I am so excited. And I'm really grateful that we have such a good video of this particular production so that we can share it with all of you. So I really want to thank our special guests, Michael Radi, Chris Handley, Christopher and Justin Swader, and Hannah Karpenko. Thank you all for being here. I hope that all of you, not just the ones on my screen, but all of you at home are safe and healthy, and I hope that you enjoy The King's Legacy. And as a reminder, this is a crazy time for everyone, so be kind, donate where you can, and take care of each other. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, BVT stars. Thank you, everyone at home, and we can't wait for you to enjoy The King's Legacy.